It could be from something that existed before our own solar system. That is so cool. Have you ever wondered what it feels like when the universe stares back at you? When 3I Atlas slipped into our solar system, nothing about it moved like a simple wandering object. It froze, pulsed, and shifted with a precision that sent a quiet chill through every expert watching. Each new reading uncovered something stranger than the last. And soon one unsettling thought became impossible to ignore. This might be the moment we stop doubting aliens forever. The first signs that 3 Atlas was not normal. When 3 Atlas first appeared on the tracking systems, it looked harmless, like another distant traveler drifting through the dark. But within hours, researchers noticed movements that felt out of place. The object slowed slightly, then corrected itself as if aware of being watched. That was the moment the title of this story began to feel real. The terrifying truth behind 3I Atlas was not in what it showed, but in what it refused to hide. The way it shifted its brightness, the way it reacted to sunlight, the way it held a steady pace as though guided by something more than random space motion made everyone uneasy. People who study these things know how comets behave. They know how dust and ice react when heated. But 3 Atlas broke those simple rules. It stayed strangely stable, almost too stable for something made of rock and frozen material. The more they looked, the more questions began to grow. Each reading hinted at something engineered or influenced rather than formed naturally. The surface temperature rose and fell with a pattern that matched no known object in deep space. If the title makes you wonder about aliens, this first sign is where that fear quietly takes root, because nothing about the early path of 3 Atlas could be explained in a clean, simple way. It was like watching a locked door shake as if something inside wanted out. You keep staring, waiting for answers, but the silence makes the mystery louder. This was the start of a trail that pulled everyone deeper. If 3 Atlas wanted to be seen, then this was its first message, and the universe was waiting to see who would notice. The freeze that should never have happened. The moment 3I Atlas suddenly froze in space was the turning point that made even the calmest minds tense up. Objects moving through the solar system do not simply stop or slow to a crawl because physics does not allow such behavior without a force acting on them. Yet 3I Atlas did just that, as if something pressed an invisible pause button. This moment shaped the frightening heart of the title, the terrifying truth behind 3I Atlas grew sharper because this freeze did not match anything we have seen in natural space travel. Scientists checked their instruments again and again, thinking it was a glitch, but it was not. Every reading confirmed the same strange fact. The object held its position for long minutes without drifting or spinning. The cold around it thickened and the temperature dropped in a way that felt controlled, not random. The sunlight hitting its surface scattered in patterns that looked intentional, as if something under the surface reacted to light rather than absorbing it. This freeze raised one heavy question. If 3I Atlas stopped on purpose, then what force had the power to do that? No comet, no asteroid, no wandering object has ever shown such behavior. It was almost like watching a creature hold its breath while listening for danger. That idea alone pushed many to rethink everything they believed about alien presence in the universe. The light pulse that matched no natural signal. Not long after the strange freeze, another event pushed 3I Atlas deeper into the center of fear. A soft repeating light pulse began flickering from its surface, slow, steady, and measured. It was not sunlight reflecting off ice and not a burst from dust or gas. The rhythm carried a pattern that felt too clean, almost like a silent heartbeat in the dark when people speak of the terrifying truth behind 3I Atlas. This pulse is what they often return to because nothing in nature blinks with such calm precision. The pulse did not drift or fade. It stayed exact every single cycle, as if controlled by something inside the object. The wavelength did not match any known natural reflection. It stood out the way a lighthouse stands out during a storm, announcing something from far away. The longer it continued, the more it looked like a signal, not a mistake. And that is where the idea of aliens stopped being a dramatic thought and started becoming a possibility that felt uncomfortably real. Experts tried comparing the pulse to known cosmic signals, but nothing matched. It was too slow to be a star's flicker, too steady to be dust scattering, too stable to be a broken surface spinning in sunlight. The pattern almost looked like a code holding a message that we were not prepared to understand. If the object was sending something that was meant to receive it, was it calling out to something else in deep space? Was it testing our ability to detect it? Or was the pulse simply a form of behavior, something alive or controlled rather than drifting and silent? The path change that looked too perfect. The most unsettling moment came when 3 Atlas shifted its path with a smooth turn that felt almost deliberate. Space objects do change direction, but always because something pushes them. Gravity, sunlight, pressure, or collisions. But the way 3 Atlas moved did not match any of these. It curved gently like something steering itself rather than being pulled. This is where the terrifying truth behind 3 Atlas grew sharper, because nothing this stable should move with such purpose. The shift did not cause chaos in its motion. There was no tumble, no vibration, no burst from its surface. Instead, it glided into a new route like a craft adjusting its course. The movement matched no known natural force around it. No planets were close enough to pull it, no sunlight strong enough to push it, and no particles around it dense enough to bend its path. This left one idea lingering in everyone's mind. What if the object was controlling its own motion? The timing of the shift made it stranger. It happened right after the light pulse, as if the object reacted to something or decided to continue a new direction. The angle was small, but too clean to call random. The change almost looked calculated, like a quiet correction in a long, hidden mission. Researchers expected the turn to slow or disturb its speed, but nothing changed. It kept its rhythm as if nothing had happened. The more the data came in, the more people felt uneasy. A natural object can wander, but it does not plan its next step. 3i Atlas looked like it was planning something even if we could not understand what. The temperature pattern that felt engineer. As 3i Atlas moved deeper into the inner regions of the solar system, something even more unusual appeared. Its surface temperature rose and fell in a sequence that felt nothing like random heating. This is the part that made many people whisper the title again. The terrifying truth. Behind 3 Atlas was hidden in numbers that acted more like a controlled machine than a cold object drifting through space. The temperature did not simply rise as it got closer to sunlight. Instead, it shifted in steps, almost like stages in a process. Every natural comet warms smoothly as ice melts and gas escapes. But 3 Atlas warmed, then paused, then warmed again in a precise way that did not match any physical model. The gaps between each rise were too even. The peaks were too stable, and the drops were too sudden for anything that is supposed to be frozen rock. The readings looked like something responding to triggers, as if heat inside the object activated and deactivated with purpose. Experts tried linking the pattern to rotation, but that did not work. The timing stayed the same, even when the angle changed. They tried connecting it to surface material, but the pattern did not match the behavior of any known ice or dust. It felt more like a sequence carried out by something hidden beneath the surface. Something that worked in cycles. This raised one uncomfortable thought. If the temperatures were controlled, then 3i Atlas might not just be reacting to its environment. It might be preparing, adjusting, or powering something inside. That idea alone made people stare at the data with one. Because natural objects do not prepare for anything, but machines do, and so do things that are built with intent. The strange dust trail that didn't behave like dust. When 3i Atlas moved past a region where sunlight should have broken tiny particles off its surface, researchers expected a normal dust trail. Instead, they got something that added a new layer of fear. The dust did not spread or fade. It stayed close, forming a thin controlled band that followed the object like a shadow. That is where the terrifying truth behind 3i Atlas deepened, because dust from a natural object never clings to its source in such a tight, steady line. The band looked almost organized. It did not scatter in the wind of space and did not drift away the way dust normally does. The particles moved in a pattern that matched the object's speed and angle, as if held by an invisible field. Something kept them aligned, something that acted more like guidance than gravity. The shape stayed nearly perfect even after hours of movement. And that single clean line shook many experts because it looked like shielding rather than shedding. As more images came in, The dust seemed to respond to changes in light. When the object entered shadows, the band tightened. When sunlight hit it, the band stretched long and thin. This response looked too smart, too intentional for anything naturally floating in space. The texture did not match comet dust either. It reflected less light and held a darker tone, which made some wonder if the particles were not dust at all, but fragments of something built or activated. If this trail was being controlled, then the question became, why was it protecting something inside? Was it hiding something from sensors? Or was it simply a behavior of an object that does not belong to anything we know? The radio silence that felt too intentional. As interest in 3I Atlas grew, radio dishes around the world aimed their signals toward it, hoping to catch even the faintest echo. But what they found was a silence so sharp it felt unnatural. Most objects in space either bounce back weak signals or create small bursts from their surface material. But 3I Atlas returned nothing. Not a whisper, not a scatter, not a trace. That is where the terrifying truth behind 3I Atlas became even harder to ignore, because silence in space is rarely perfect. The readings showed a strange clean gap, as if something around the object absorbed the radio waves rather than reflecting them. The shape of the silence matched the object's size too perfectly to be a coincidence. No natural object blocks signals in such a smooth, exact way. Rough surfaces scatter light and radio waves, but 3I Atlas acted like a wall built to stop detection. Thanks for watching another episode.